Welcome, everybody, to Navigating APHA Part 2, brought to you by Project Brotherhood and the Council on Black Health. I'm one of your co-hosts, and today we got my other co-host, Dr. Murray, and some wonderful guests. Ms. Ella, would you start off by introducing yourself, please?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. It is evening. I'm Ella Green Moten, and I am based in Flint, Michigan. And in Flint, I serve as the administrator of the Community-Based Organization Partners Community Ethics Review Board. And I also have the pleasure of serving as president of the American Public Health Association, the first community grassroots leader to be elected to that position in APHA's 150 plus year history. So I'm glad to be here with you guys this evening.
And that's definitely a big deal. My man George, Dr. Smith, brief introduction, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is George Smith, Jr. I have the fortunate opportunity of being a faculty member at Chicago State University, where I'm assistant professor of public health. But in regards to the American Public Health Association, I'm the program planner for the Black Caucus of Health Workers, which is the oldest caucus within the American Public Health Association that was formally organized in fall of 1968.
Wonderful caucus, and we'll learn more about it shortly. And Youngblood, Caesar, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Caesar Thompson. I am based out of Chicago, where I was a big part of the COVID response, which really was my introduction to public health. And now I am a student at UIC and also a researcher after a brief stint at the City Health Department. And this is going to be my second APHA. I had a really great time last year, and I'm excited for everybody.
Thanks a lot, Youngblood. And then the Honorable Dr. Murray. Please, just a brief introduction.
I don't think I'm honorable.
You don't think I think you're
no,
honorable.
not at all. But I'm very glad to be here. My name is Rae Murray. I'm a retired Cook County physician and a past president of APHA. And let me take this moment. First of all, I'm so glad that our current president, Ella, had time to join us and really talk to all of you. But I want to really emphasize what it means to have a leader of the largest and oldest public health organization in the world, to be honest with you, be a regular community person. I think this says so much about where we need to be going in public health. And hopefully we'll be joined in a little while later by Tanya, who's one of the leaders of the community-based caucus. So maybe we could just start with these very, very brief slides, just so you have it. They'll be on the recording. So if we could have the next slide, Andre. And as the first slide say, always try to come to APHA before the opening ceremony on Sunday. There are always all kinds of meetings that happen before Sunday. But just to remind you, the APHA was formed in 1872. And I picked this slide because I knew Ella was going to be on. That's Stephen Smith, one of the founders of APHA at age 98. But for years, really until 1969, all the presidents were white. And I think there was only one woman before that, one or two women before 1969. So again, the fact that our past presidents now look more like the country, and that we are trying to get away from, how can I say this nicely? People with too much education and don't know what they're talking about is really an important thing. Next slide. Next slide, Andre. So one thing is APHA can be expensive, and so know this ahead of time and sign up. Most of our sections and caucuses, they often give breaks for students and for community people. When Tanya gets here, there's a whole effort with our community-based caucus to engage communities, organizations in the towns where we meet. This year, of course, we're meeting in Minneapolis, but there's always a range of activities depending on what area you're interested in. And they often have extra dinners and breakfasts and lunches to know about. Next slide. So it would take us all night to talk about the whole program, but that's not my intention. Some of you have licenses or areas where you need continuing education, whether you're a social worker or a nurse or a health educator or a physician. Here's just some of the CE continuing education credit we have. So if you are required to keep this for your license, I know in the state of Illinois, all of these careers are required to stay licensed. They have to show every time they go for a license renewal that they're doing continuing education. APHA is an organization where when you come, you can sign up for the sessions that have continuing education and get that, and that helps you with your licensing process. Next slide. Also, APHA is like, it's always a huge meeting. It will be over a couple of hotels and the convention center. So like, don't be coming out in heels and stuff, you know, wear some running shoes, be comfortable, because you're going to have to be walking lots of places. You know, you can look cute in the evening if you go into a party, but during the regular day, be ready to rock and roll. This is just an example.
Wait, Dr. Murray, let me pause it right here, because I want to get everybody's opinion, because this is important for young people. And please chime in. What's the appropriate attire for APHA? Even though this is a business networking conference, a professional conference, what's appropriate attire?
You asking me or you asking us?
That's a good question.
I'll chime in.
I'm asking the panel.
I'll chime in, and then I'll go ahead and I'll just chime in quickly. And as I tell my students, I will tell them business casual, and I also tell students just be mindful of what you wear, because the person, you may meet someone who could be your next boss, the person who could help you get an internship, a person who could help you get a fellowship, and that type of thing. So I would try to use the term, and I'm very modest when I'm careful when I say this. In healthcare, we tend to be modest in attire. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't be who you are, but remember now, you're there for a professional purpose. And you know, some people may be coming looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right. We understand that. However, I would just recommend to individuals that they be modest in their attire and work with business casual. And as Dr. Murray has said, be comfortable. So, like gentlemen, we sometimes have these expensive shoes. It's okay to wear some of those Echo shoes because you will be walking. And so that's what I would suggest.
What you think?
I agree. I agree. And especially when he threw in the term modest, because when you talk about business casual, sometimes that's up in the eye of the beholder, right? We look at things differently, and what's casual to me is not casual to somebody else. But being comfortable and being modest and knowing that this is a professional organization, just keeping that in mind.
It's a little tricky question for me. Yeah, this is a little tricky for me. So last year I kind of had a mix. I was going to Safi beforehand, and they had a very specific look they were going for. It was a Kentucky Derby or something was the look. So I had to look up what that even meant. It was all kinds of things I had to go through, but I just wore a suit. I had a suit there, and I think I wore a suit one day of APHA, but the rest of it, I was comfortable. I'm a believer in comfort. Actually, what I love about academia is I don't have to do business casual like I did at the health department. But I also agree with George. If you're trying to get an internship or a fellowship, or you're trying to find a job, that's a totally different situation. You might want to come correct, be professional or super professional. But I tried to play it a little more casual than I would say the average person, but that's a personal choice. So I think there's lots of ways you can go. I would say bring a collection of things, like bring different wares.
Well, I'm old and retired. I wear what I want. And when you get my age, we get to be 76. You can wear what you want. But
George, you see my influence. That's why I used to wear sweatsuits.
As long as you're comfortable.
Respect. I'm glad you was leading the way for me to wear sweatsuits. Okay, appreciate you.
Gotcha.
So Linda Rae, you said 76. I'm 76, so I can say Linda Rae said I can wear this.
That's right. Anybody pusses with you, just let them know.
Okay.
And if they know me, they'll understand.
I'm going with it.
So
and I understand that too.
Yes. So I wanted to again, I'm not going to go through the whole schedule. This is just help remind you. You have to plan out where you're going. We'll talk about the schedule in a minute, because you don't want to be at one session in one hotel and then 15 minutes later think you can be in some other hotel. So you have to sort of pay attention to the location. So there are maps built into the program, etc. Oh, Tanya, welcome, Tanya. there are maps built into the online program, so you can figure that out. And we'll talk a little bit about the program.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm not going to talk about, but it's very important, especially for you younger professionals, APHA is a professional association. So yes, people are presenting academic papers. Many schools and universities, they don't even pay for you to come unless you're presenting. You want to go there and talk to your colleagues if you're interested in, prostate cancer, or you're interested in maternal mortality. You want to be able to meet people around the country that are working on these issues. So the scientific and action parts of APHA are important, but there's also a political advocacy component to APHA. That's what our governing council does. So the first meeting is on Saturday. The governing council is elected. It's elected by people in their sections. You shouldn't just come to APHA and that's all you do. You should join one of the sections. You should hopefully be active in it, and also one of the caucuses, if you're so minded. And don't be afraid to go to those section meetings. You don't have to know anybody to go to the business meetings. So that's part and parcel. That's really where you can find jobs and where you can find internships, to be honest with you. You may find yourself working with a senior person in your field planning next year's meeting. So don't be afraid to go to meetings and introduce yourself. But in any case, you can see here Saturday. You can register on Saturday if you're there early. There are pre-meetings. I'm going to talk about SAPI in a minute. But the affiliates meet on Saturday. The affiliates are mostly our state associations. DC and New York City are two cities that have an association. I'm in Illinois. Most of us right now are in Illinois. Most places have a state public health association. So they have a vote in the governing council. They meet on Saturday. Next slide, Andre. This is Saturday SAPI. I'm going to be here this Saturday at the SAPI meeting. SAPI is our academic arm of the Black Caucus. And they usually have a meeting on Saturday. This is this year's meeting in Minneapolis. It's going to be at the Hilton from 11 to 2. There's a brunch involved, but it's a poster session. It'll be a great speaker and panel. So again, if you're in on Saturday, please stop by. And next year, like I said, don't wait until Sunday to come. Come early on Saturday and see what other things are going on. Next slide. Here's how the schedule looks on the online program before you go in. Sunday is technically the opening session. That's why a lot of people come on Sunday. They don't even realize the meeting's already 2 or 3 days old then. And this is reminding me, you can see up there at 8 o'clock, there are business meetings and social hours. So if you belong to the medical care section, which I belong to, or the occupational health and safety section, another section that I belong to, you go to your section, you can find out when the business meetings are. That's where they have a committee. That's often where they plan the session for next year. I don't have the Black Caucus business meetings up, but the Black Caucus will have business meetings. And that's where you can go and be active and say, well, I think we should have a session on this or that. And I know George would be glad to find anybody to help work on the program. Right, George? The opening session is, as it says there are several big sessions at APHA. There's an opening session and a closing session. These are in big auditoriums. Usually there's a lot of pomp and ceremony to them, but you should know that goes on. So just be aware of that. Next slide. This is, again, just another look at the sessions. So I know Caesar and I and Andre will all be going to the health activist dinner, but I'm not trying to advertise that. But this is what the sessions look like when you go deep into the online program. You can find out exactly what's going on at what time. You can see Sunday at 9 o'clock. There's a new member orientation if you want to go to it, and it'll give you the location. So you can search. Next slide. This looks at Monday again. There's certain traditions at APHA. Monday evening are when the receptions occur. Everybody does a reception Monday evening. Schools and universities do. I know my alma mater, the University of Illinois, will be having a reception on Monday. Many schools do. These are usually free things that you go for, little munchy cocktail kind of receptions. And some of the caucuses have receptions, etc. So look out for those. Next slide.
Wait,
yes.
George, say something. Say none of my head is.
Yeah. The importance. So this is just an example. Again, be clear that you are supporting caucuses that you think are important. So the Peace Caucus, for example, or the Socialist Caucus. Here are two caucuses that I belong to. The Latino Caucus. They have a breakfast every Tuesday. They have a Helen Rodriguez-Trias breakfast, our first Latina president of APHA, a pediatrician by training. So these are usually required tickets. So that's on Tuesday. Also on Tuesday, by tradition, is our Black Caucus dinner, where we give our awards and dinner. And again, that'll be at 6:30 on Tuesday. And if you go in the schedule, and you can find the location for all of these places. Next slide. So again, just looking at Tuesday. Tuesday is the major governing council meeting. It is scheduled to be an all-day affair. It's something to pop in on if you're interested in. It's something to think about writing policy on for yourself. If you think there's an area that we are not paying attention to. I'll tell you, in recent time periods, for example, after George Floyd got killed, our young people in APHA fought really hard for a year or two to get a good statement on police violence. So this is the real world of public health. You don't always get the statement you want right away. The first year or two, you might get defeated, but you have to really fight for what you believe in. Next slide. And I should say two things here. People often leave on Wednesday or before Wednesday. Wednesday is technically the closing session. When I was young, we used to meet until Thursday, but then they shortened it. So the closing session will be on the last thing on Wednesday. Next slide. So if you go into the schedule on the online program, you can look at it by day, which I'm not going to bother to show you. So you can say, what's going on Monday afternoon? And you click on Monday and you can look at the time and you can see what's going on. Here's something that I think is more useful for you. You can browse by program. This is just the first part of this slot. So you can see here in the second row, the American Indian, Alaskan Native, and Native Hawaiian Caucus. So they have a schedule and a program. If you click on that, you'll see their business meetings, any receptions they're having, any poster sessions, etc. The Black Caucus of Health Workers is on here, the Latino Caucus, the Spirit of 1848. So all the caucuses and other organizational components of APHA that have sessions or meetings, like I don't see the Bylaws Committee. The Bylaws Committee, it'll be on this browse by program, or you can browse by date. Next slide. Here's our, so I did try to advertise. Here's our caucus first business meeting on Sunday. You can see there at 12:30 to 2. Okay, and it's in the convention center. So again, just click on there and you'll find events, roundtables, our sessions where people are sitting around the table talking about a certain issue. There are poster sessions where just like people, you walk down an aisle and people have their posters up on the bulletin board. And of course, ordinary oral sessions where you're in an auditorium kind of sitting, someone's at the podium presenting a very short version of their work and research. This might almost close be to the last one. Next slide. Is this the last one? Andre, is this the last slide? I can't remember. Yes, this is the last one. So we can get rid of this and then we can just talk. So I encourage you to sit down with your computer before you come, look through the program. You can search by topic. You can search by who's organizing the session. You can search by whether you get continuing education for it, and try to map out possibilities before you go, so you have some idea of what you might want to see. And even though I know this is old-fashioned, if you have business cards, it's a good idea to bring some extra business cards, so that you can get back and ask people for business cards, so you can get back in touch with people when you want to do it. Mm-hmm. The best way to get involved in APHA is actually go to meetings. Don't be afraid. Ask questions. Introduce yourself, and go to the business meetings. Don't just go to the scientific sessions. So that's just a very brief overview. And Tanya, maybe you could start off and talk a little bit. I know you just came in. I'm glad you got here. Talk a little bit about your caucus, because I didn't put any slides on it. You're on mute, Tanya.
Linda Rae.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is Ella.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I wanted to say something to you and thank you for doing what you just did and the comments about APHA, because when I first started coming to APHA, I used to hear folk talking about being overwhelmed, how overwhelming it was. And it just made me think, if you focus and figure out what you can do and really pay attention to those things that you need to be paying attention to, you wouldn't be overwhelmed. So what you just laid out is a perfect example of how not to be overwhelmed and be able to really enjoy the whole process of APHA. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tanya Roberson, and I'm currently the co-chair for the Community-Based Public Health Caucus. I've been an active member of APHA since 2007, but it was not until 2016, that I actually joined that caucus and have been a member of it since then and have played several roles. I have reviewed abstracts. I've been a program planner. But before, I was one of those individuals like Miss Ella and Dr. Murray just mentioned that would come to APHA. It felt very overwhelming. So what I would do was submit an abstract for any work that I'm doing, come and present on it the night before I was going to scheduled to present, and then come back to Chicago. And there I didn't really get to network or meet a lot of people or actually be involved in anything that's going on. But after I joined the Public Health Caucus, Community-Based Public Health Caucus, and by the way, their motto is community is at the heart of public health. That was I'm a big advocate of that, because a lot of researchers, they come in or they do a lot of work on research and not equally involving the community. And in this caucus, we ensure and try to focus on having the community at the table at the inception, not trying to squeeze a square into a circle after they get the grant or after they do the publication or come in to talk, but to have them right there, because they're very important. And I feel that none of that work could have been done if it wasn't for the community members. So if you're interested, if public health, like I said, I've always considered myself a public servant. And I know I'm in the right field. I enjoy the work that I do, and especially the affiliation that I have with APHA. And I've been able to meet a lot of different colleagues who are friends now, where we have done extra work outside of APHA. So it's a good place to network. And I think it's really important for students, especially, to be a member of a professional organization that they're passionate about.
Tanya, let me ask you a quick one. Can you tell everybody about what you all do in terms of giving out the awards every year?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's a big part of it. Yes, the Community-Based Public Health Caucus, their steering committee and partner is NCBONE. Then those acronyms stand for the National Community-Based Public Health. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm missing them. The National, Miss Ella, help me out, NCBONE, a National Community-Based Organization Network.
National
That's what NC based
Organization.
organization. Yeah, all these
Yeah,
acronyms are getting me mixed up. Yeah. So what we do is a lot of community
right.
members don't even know that the work with their faith-based organizations or community-based organizations are actually impacting public health. They've never heard about APHA, and they've probably never been invited, nor can they afford to come to APHA. So what we do is every city that APHA is having their conference in, we go ahead of time and we inform community-based organizations. We partner with a large community-based organization or academic based organization. So like last year for APHA, what we did was partner with Morehouse School of Medicine. There, with them and them having feet on the ground, they helped us to they referred actually 43 community-based organizations, members, leaders, or faith-based organizations that are actually doing good in the hood. That's what we call it. And out of those 43, we were able to honor and recognize 25 of them at a like a yearly community-based forum at Morehouse and to give them an award and invite them and their other members of their organizations and family members. And it's really nice. And there we were able, I was the president of NC Bone at that time, and we were able to give Henrietta Lack's grandson a presidential award as well for the work that he's continuing in the legacy of his grandmother's name.
So that's other ways that people can get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So let me flip it a little bit. George, if you saw Caesar walking down, coming to a Black Caucus meeting, what would be some of the things you could tell him that he can get involved with in terms of volunteering and how it would help towards his resume, towards his CV?
You're on mute, George. You're still up.
A little quirky. Sorry about that, everyone. My system is acting a little quirky. So with the Black Caucus of Health Workers, I would say to anyone, and so I'll be very brief about my journey, how I got involved. Two of my mentors, the late Margaret Davis and Dr. Shafdina Muo, told me in 1999 that I need to be involved with the Black Caucus of Health Workers. Realizing that they realized I needed they were sage and they gave me some good wisdom, I said, okay. So I've been involved since 1999. And so I tell other students, particularly younger people, it's a great way to network. We've had individuals who were students who literally got internships and have gotten employed by being involved with the Black Caucus of Health Workers. And within the caucus, you can serve as a moderator of a session. You could also review abstracts. There's opportunity to interface. We have some activities, for example, the Hildreth A. Poindexter Award and Gala. And some people might say, who is Hildreth A. Poindexter? Well, Hildreth A. Poindexter is considered the African-American, or some circles, the Black father of public health. He was a distinguished physician who graduated from undergrad at Lincoln University, the Lincoln in Pennsylvania, and went on to do extraordinary work. And so therefore, based upon the information that was shared with me, is that the founders who started Black Caucus of Health Workers in 1968 decided they wanted to give an award, and based upon the Dr. Hildreth A. Poindexter's commitment to public health, that is our highest award that we give. This year, our award is going to go to Dr. Yvonne Bronner. Dr. Yvonne Bronner is a professor of community health at Morgan State University. But one thing that some people may or may not be familiar with, and we have a lot of alphabet soup within APHA, but we have something called CAF, which stands for the Consortium of African American Public Health Programs. And Dr. Bronner was one of the initiators of that organization. And the Consortium of African American Public Health Programs consists of programs that are at historically Black colleges and universities, as well as predominantly Black institutions. As you can see, I've been in APHA again since 1999, and I remember going to APHA and not necessarily seeing programs at historically Black colleges and universities, and now we can. I would tell people, students who particularly are interested in furthering their education, there may be students who are looking to get their master's. There are several institutions that offer a master's of public health degree. We have Chicago State University, we have Florida A&M University, we have Harvard University, we have Tuskegee, not Harvard, but of course, Howard. How could I get those two mixed up? Because Howard is so much better. Howard University, we have Tuskegee University. And one little known fact that people may or may not know, we only have one historically Black college or university that has a school of public health, and that's Jackson State University. So again, I would tell individuals who want to get involved, it's an opportunity to network. It's also an opportunity to find out where we came from and how we can move forward. And I'll just end on this note. The Black Caucus of Health Workers started last year. We have something called the Dr. Paul B. Corneli Student Roundtable. Dr. Paul B. Corneli was the first African-American who was elected and served as president of the American Public Health Association. He was elected in 1969 and became president in 1970. And so realizing the great work he's done, and was a founder of the Black Caucus of Health Workers. And one other little known fact that people may or may not know, the late Dr. June Jackson Christmas, who unfortunately passed away in December of 2023, who was a noted Black psychiatrist, was a member and a founder of the Black Caucus of Health Workers. And she became the first Black woman to serve as president of the American Public Health Association in 1980, and was a founder as well. So we have a great history within the Black Caucus of Health Workers. There are a lot of other entities. Will be something, as Dr. Murray said, with the Latino Caucus. We also have something called SPIG, which are our special interest groups. So it is a great opportunity for individuals to network and to figure out what's going on. And we have something called our APHA family. You will see people over years and get an opportunity to connect with them. So I tell everyone it is worth the time and it is worth the investment.
So since we're talking about the Dr. Cornelli, let me just say a few more words about him. He represents someone, which this is another, we're not as honest as we need to be with our young people. When you are a young person of color, whether you're trying to be a practitioner or a scholar, you have an extra burden to carry. Okay. So Dr. Cornelli is the first Black to get a doctorate of public health in the country, which he got from the University of Michigan. He was on the faculty of Howard Medical School for decades. He organized and provided the medical backup and coverage for the March on Washington. Okay. So he was an active member and an active leader in the National Medical Association, the Organization of Black Physicians, and really fought in the civil rights era, particularly, not only to increase the number of African Americans in medical school, but to fight to end the war in Vietnam and to deal with oppression and many other things. He was someone who brought politics, as it should be, into public health. So he's an important leader in our history. And Dr.
I'm sorry. Just to
piggyback go ahead.
Just to piggyback on what George was saying, I tell all my students and my AX students about the ability to be able to talk to universities in person when you're at APHA. So if you're an undergrad lucky enough to go, every university is there and there are people you could talk to. If you're a graduate student and you're looking for a doctoral program, all the universities are there, and they're actually there's people there that will guide you through the process. So you can actually spend, a good 2-3 hours, just called the exhibition hall. There's also government agencies there, from the NIH to other agencies. They offer, sometimes they do interviews. There's places in there that offer CV writing, but every entity around public health, private, governmental, and state and local entities, all of them are there, and universities are there. So you definitely have to spend time, and we're going to talk about it more. But as you're looking for these presentations to go to, you still need to make time to spend a good 90 minutes to 2.5 hours in the exhibition hall and meet people there. Meet the people that are actually all the vendors.
If you're actually
plus one to that too. I just want to say that was a great time last year for me, was in the exhibition hall. Like you said, people from all over the country, just learning about what people are doing, finding things that interest you, like places you can springboard to see where you want to go next. Is great for that.
What made you go? What did somebody tell you to go to the hall, or?
Maybe it might have been Tiffany, maybe, because I was looking for books, and there's lots of great books to find there too. Okay. Tiffany Ford, who is a professor in community health sciences here at UIC, who was one of my mentors, along with Dr. Murray and so many great people here at UIC. We had a great time in that exhibition hall, met lots of people. And especially if you're interested in research like me, that's another great place to just link up with people, find out what they're interested in, beyond just the panels, which obviously there's a million panels, and you really have to pick and choose the ones you want that really interest you, because you just don't have enough time and they're overlapping. But the exhibition hall, just recommend it for sure. A couple good hours definitely spend there.
And that's where you can find the poster sessions. And poster sessions are just as informational as the oral presentations. Like, don't underestimate poster sessions. And the good thing about going to somebody's poster session, you can have that one-on-one time with the individual that's conducting that research. You can also do it in an oral presentation. You just might need to wait to the end, but it's definitely the exhibition hall. I can't say it enough.
That's where my abstract is going to be this year. It's in an oral session. It's called a community engaged rapid assessment in Chicago's high economic hardship communities, evaluating community health literacy, chronic health conditions, and trust in public health. Kind of a mouthful, but it was a big survey that we did that really was trying to find out not just what people's feelings are about vaccines, but also mental health stigma, challenges to just getting to places, how much they trust their doctor, where they're getting their information from. And so it was really illuminating for us. And it was nice that we could kind of piggyback that on top of our COVID response, which was trying to actually help people find things, like vaccines and tests and all that kind of stuff. So if you have time, that's a Monday session in the public health education and promotion program.
So what was that process like? During part one of navigating APHA, we helped the student, ex-student, OC. He's on the oral cancer project with Project Brotherhood and Dr. Smith out of UIC. And he came on here, he submitted the abstract, got some assistance from us, and he's going to give another oral presentation. Tell us about the process of submitting the abstract. Who did you submit it through? And George, if he's missing anything, can you chime in?
Sure. Yeah. So thankfully, this project was with a lot of professors at UIC and other students and also community members, which I was when I kind of got started. And now I've kind of made that transition into academia. But I'm still kind of like you, Ella. I feel like the community is where my heart is and it's where it's always going to be. And so this academia stuff is kind of helping me build myself up, but it's not really my identity, so to speak. So having people who are professors is really good to help you understand what they're looking for when it comes to these abstracts. It's very tight, small amount of text you can actually fit your ideas into. So it's really challenging to get that past all these reviewers and algorithms and things that you need to get through to actually present your work. It's a struggle. It's like trying to write a resume in some ways. It's like tight, focused, really have to hit the main points. You have to target it at a specific place, because there's all these divisions and subcategories. And so you have to really find the one that fits. And even if it doesn't quite fit, you might have to shape your words, even if you're not trying to change the work itself, but change how you describe the work so that it fits what the reviewers or the people who are running the conference are looking for. And then once you do that, you try to submit, try to get it in early, try to, if it's depending on how you're submitting, you may get feedback and you may be able to try again, for journals. But I'm not sure when it comes to APHA if you get more than one shot, but thankfully we were accepted. I think we tried last year and actually weren't accepted. So, don't feel bad if you don't make it. You can always try again. The failure is just as important as the success when it comes to this kind of work. So that's what I would say.
And so Marcus, in regards, and thank you, Caesar, for that. APHA has something they do every year called a call for abstract. Literally, and you get back from
after,
APHA.
I think somebody else was going to chime in on that, but I had another angle to bring up about the, going to APHA.
Go ahead, Ella. Go ahead.
Is she frozen?
Ella, no, she's actually her hand moving. Ella, you can go ahead and speak if you want. Maybe she is.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Oh,
now we can hear
okay.
you.
I didn't know if you could hear me. No, you just made me think about an experience that I had going to APHA, and we were talking about going to present our work, which is how many of the community folk was introduced to APHA, being that community partner presenting with their academic partner. But when I went and, had a chance to be a presenter, the one thing that stood out to me was that an organization as large as APHA had to be doing more than just having a space for folks to present, and my quality said I were. And that's how I pulled many of my community members into that part of APHA. We sought out the action board to understand what the action board does, got connected with the Joint Policy Committee, then was connected with the executive board. And I brought community members with me so that they could understand, but recognizing that APHA was more than them just coming to APHA and presenting a paper, going home, and that's all that they would get out of it, that the decision-making body was someplace at APHA, and we found it, and we were well. I know that had a lot to do with where I ended and how it was just a passion that I had for the policy aspect of APHA. But that's also part of, being a part of APHA, the whole APHA.
George, were you going to say something about, and I'd like to hear what Tanya's going to say too. Go ahead, George.
So I was just going to say a little bit about the call for abstracts, because we talk, and that's something that we want, the APHA does, meaning that that's an opportunity for people to present their work. And so for those who may not be familiar, like, how do I get to present? Be on the lookout for the call for abstracts. So it will come from APHA, it will come from the caucus that you're in, it will come from the section that you are in. And so we're looking every year for people to present their original work, because that's the purpose of APHA, is to come and learn. But one thing too, that we are very mindful, as Caesar has stated, that it has to be reviewed. And so we have to make sure that the things that we're presenting are grounded in truth and facts. And so we want to make sure that the information being shared, it's something we can disagree about it, but it has to be truthful and factful. And so when you submit an abstract, there is a criteria. We use a lot of language. And so you have to have some learning objectives. You have to have, some key findings and some words, some words to help people understand what are you trying to say and what is the story that you're trying to tell. And so that once the abstract is reviewed, it's blind. So it's not like we know who's reviewing. We have people who volunteer and they review the abstracts, and the abstracts are given a score based upon their worth. And then from that, the sections, the caucus, and the other groups, they look and see, is this a good abstract? Is it meeting what we're trying to get out? And I give you, for example, my background is maternal child health. So I have a very interest in maternal child health. And so therefore, if I wanted to submit an abstract on maternal child health, we have a maternal child health section. Or let's just say I wanted to present some research that deals with African Americans, particularly looking at maternal morbidity and mortality. Maybe I could submit that through the Black Caucus of Health Workers. But let's just say, hey, you know what? I am really interested in cancer. And someone may be interested in cancer. We have a cancer forum, but we also have the epidemiology section. So it really depends upon what your area of interest, what your area of expertise, your area of practice, or your area of research will better help you to get your abstract approved. And again, like I say, if you're talking about adults and particularly how they eat, and particularly that may not be the best section for you. We have a men's caucus. There's a women's caucus. So it all depends upon what your area of interest is. And in the American Public Health Association, to my knowledge, I don't think there's been any category left out. Now, I could be wrong, but no matter what your interest is within public health, there is a caucus, a section, a SPIG, and again, that's a special interest group that you can present your information in.
So, thank you, George.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yes,
Rowland,
Tanya. Yes.
you've been submitting abstracts for years. You help other organizations and individuals submit abstracts. And I think this year you submitted a video.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I want to share that I've been submitting abstracts and I've been selected to present on all levels for poster presentations, round table, and oral presentations. And this year, like you mentioned, I submitted a film, an education film for stroke education awareness and promote prevention, and it was accepted for the film festival at APHA. So this will be the first time that I've submitted one for the media, for a media abstract, but it was accepted, and I'll be presenting it on that Monday following the start of APHA. But one thing that I want to say is to have a very interesting title. Sometimes those just catch people, especially after you're accepted, for people to come and listen to your presentation. Make sure your work is newsworthy, and just something that will actually help or impact public health.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the title. Project Brotherhood. We used to have a lot of interesting titles back in the day, and we used to bring our non-health professionals. Like we brought our barbers sometime to present at APHA. We bring our students. We usually take 10 students a year. We focus on students to get that experience of presenting, of poster sessions, oral presentations. We submit through the caucus and other things. I love the Black Caucus. Sometimes they tell me watch my profanity when I present. But besides that, it's a fun thing because you get to share your ideas and you get to meet people. So, and I just go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry, but to follow the instructions too, like George said, and Ella, it's a lot of words, and it's nothing that I think you should do overnight. So if they're asking for 300 words, start off with 400, maybe where you could just still minimize it later, but have the most important information, because that's not a lot of words to express or describe your actual work and its impact to public health.
So I want to get back to the actual meeting. I will say last year we did post something on how to write an abstract, and I hope this year we'll do it again. The abstract call for abstracts will come out early, so you really should start writing your abstract around Christmas time, just to give you a heads up. But we'll try to help with that. But other kinds of things for the actual meeting, and I don't think this is just because I'm old, but just like, don't come there and party Saturday night and Sunday night, then you won't be able to go to anything else. Make sure that you pace yourself, and make sure that you take care of yourself. COVID is still a reality. The flu is still a reality. So making sure that you bring masks in case you need them, you may need them. You should be up to date on your immunizations, just to protect yourself. But also be clear that going to any kind of conference like that for 3 or 4 days in a row, no matter how young you are, will wear you out. Am I right, Caesar? I think you're the youngest one on this call. So make sure that
you're right.
Yeah. Make sure that
bring
you
your
take
mask,
time.
and also get your vaccines before, get them now if you're coming by the end of the month, so you'll be prepared for that.
Look at y'all pushing the vaccine. Doc, let me say this, because you said something crucial about not being tired. I've noticed in my years going, a lot of young people, and I'm saying this strictly to the young people. Sometimes we go to these cities, and we're going to Minnesota. There's going to be a lot of people that want to go shopping at the mall. I'm not saying don't go shopping at the mall. I'm not saying don't get some relaxed time. I'm saying use your time wisely. That 2 to 3 hours you might be at the mall, you could be missing out on some career networking opportunities. So plan your day wisely. It's not about partying at night. If you want to party, come to a network social. Come to like the Black Caucus social. Come to Black Ladies in Public Health. Don't look at it as a party like you're going to a club. The lights will be on. They will have alcohol if you want something to sip on, and it's usually free. Stop by and meet the people for what you want to do in your career. And I'll give you another tip too. If you really, 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 really want to meet the big shots, you want to meet the Ellas, you want to meet the Dr. Robesons and the Georges and the Dr. Murrays, go to the hotels, sit in the lobby with your laptop. Hang out in the area of the lobby of the hotels that are closest to the convention center, because they're not going to travel. So if there's one adjacent to the convention center, you sit in that lobby, you'll meet a lot of nationally recognized folks of all different nationalities and races. That's the tip. A lot of people don't know that. Go to the expensive hotels, young people.
Yeah.
Sit in that lobby, look at some name tags, introduce yourself. If you go sit at the bar and have a drink, don't get drunk. But you'll meet people. And you're still in that social networking environment. Yeah, only get drunk at home with your peers. Don't do it in the professional setting. So
One thing
George,
I would say too, definitely to the younger group is yes, APHA can be expensive. So let's not be naive. But I tell students it's an investment in you. I can't tell you how to spend your money, but I can tell you it is an investment in you. And so I was young once, but now I'm older and I've learned some things. And and I'm going to use an old African American, or I'm going to use Southern Black vernacular English. We got money for what we want to spend it for. And sometimes may, and again, I'm not
Absolutely.
telling people how to use their money, but I would say buying a ticket to a banquet, that $95 may get you a job, or that $95 might get you on a research assistantship. You're investing in you. And as Dr. Murray has said, as Miss Ella has said, and Dr. Robinson has said, we older people, we want to help younger people. However, let's just be honest. We want to help people who are going to go somewhere.
Yep.
No one wants to waste time and resources. We have limited time, we have limited resources, and we want to advance public health. How do we know that you're functional if you don't show us that you're functional? And so that's something that I would definitely say to young people. There are people now, and I aged up, but the goal is within APHA is to age up and make sure that we train the next generation of public health practitioners. For example, Dr. George Benjamin, and he said this in Boston, I think that was 2022, when he said there is an attack on science. Who would have thought that people would not believe science? I mean, I get it. This is not the Middle Ages, but washing your hands, wearing a mask, and getting vaccinated, that is proven. That we should not argue that. But unfortunately, now in 2024, we have to argue that. And now we have to get more younger people into the profession who understand, I'm going to use this term, who don't believe in the okie doke, who understand science and who understand that they can translate it and talk it. So I would say to the younger people, yes, it's an investment in you, but it's a great opportunity.
So we're coming up close to an hour here, and I'm going to ask everybody to say sort of a last message to folks, and hopefully we'll see many of you at APHA. I'll say if you see me wandering around, I move slow, so you'll be able to catch up to me. Just tap me on the shoulder and say hello. I'm glad to talk to whoever stops me. But let's start with Caesar. What would you say to people that are on their way to APHA this year?
The money part I was really thinking about, it might be too late now, but universities offer you like different divisions and stuff, and schools will offer you little like $300 awards. If you're going to APHA, it may require that you have a presentation or something, but it's always worth applying for these things so that you can have a little money to take care of your travel, if not pay for your registration and your hotel and all that. Thankfully, like my flight and hotel is being paid for because I have an abstract. So, but that's not always going to be the case. So it can be a bit of a challenge. But in general, I would say don't stress about it too much, because as y'all were saying, it's an investment in yourself. It really is. You'll learn a lot. You'll have great experiences, not just the official things, but the things that are happening outside of the convention center and the people you meet and the parties you'll get to go to. And just these relationships can really last a long time and really benefit all of us. So general, I just recommend people do it. You got to do it at least once if you're interested at all in public health, and then see how you feel from there.
Great. George, what advice do you have?
The advice that I would have is be prepared. If you need to vote early, vote early. I know that we'll get back in enough time, but I would say be prepared and make sure you vote.
President Ella Green Moulton, you have any comments for our attendees this year? What advice would you give people planning to come?
Just a couple of thoughts. Allow yourselves to believe in the power of possibility, and be open to those empowering spaces, and just allow yourself to continue to grow.
Great.
Dr. Roberson?
Yes, I ditto everything that was said before me, and I strongly recommend anyone to come to public health, because public health is in everything. So even if you're not a public health, if that's not your career, come and just visit and see what's going on and what's being done to help impact health and racial inequities. And I will recommend coming even if you didn't have an abstract, accept it, because then you can maneuver around a little bit better. Because sometimes when you do have abstracts, you have a lot of preparation and places to be at certain times. But for either way, it's a good resource, and I recommend it highly.
Doc Murray, Linda Rae.
I look forward to seeing many of you at APHA. It is an investment in yourself, and if you come and hang out, there's a lot of free food you can get there too. You don't have to spend all your money on the dinners if you know what you're doing and you're networking. So make sure you go to your business meeting and network, and I look forward to seeing a lot of people there.
Yes.
To me, it's like a professional family reunion. I'm giving my personal thing. I get to see brothers and sisters from around the country that I haven't seen all year. I get to learn about new projects, new contracts, because I meet people, I open up my mouth, and they say, oh, I like what you're doing. But the main thing is fun, and it's educational, and just understanding the importance of networking. But I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank our co-sponsors, Illinois AHAC, Council on Black Health, and Project Brotherhood. And thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you, Dre. I'll never
one.
forget about my super producer, Andre.